And we are live. It's Troy Francis in London. You are too emotionally interested in outcome. You are too emotionally interested in outcome. So we're going to get into that in this little impromptu stream. This is going out live across YouTube, also Kick, Rumble, and Twitch as well. So we're going quite wide today, and also X as well, of course, everyone's favorite platform. So yeah, this is going out to a lot of different places, and wherever you're watching it, welcome. Hope you're having a good Monday so far. Hope you had a good weekend. So I'm just going to talk a bit about this idea about being emotionally invested and why it's a bad thing. And then if you want to ask questions, put them into the chat and we'll get to them at some point during the stream. You can ask anything you want within reason, particularly related to dating and relationships and all that stuff. And we'll take it from there. So I've been doing a few videos this weekend around this subject. Emotional investment, right? It's one of the biggest problems that guys have. And it's a problem in regard to dating for sure. But it's also a problem in all aspects of life because, you know, I mean, the more that you want something, the less likely you are to get it. There's a weird sort of quirk of life. There's a weird dichotomy that we face, which is you really, really want a certain thing. You really, really want a certain outcome or a certain eventuality to come to fruition. And the more you want it, the more it seems to elude you, you know, the more it seems to just exist somewhere slightly outside of your grip. And as I say, I can't explain why that is, except to say that when you think about the energy that you are putting out into the world, okay, and energy is super, super important. It's particularly important with dating stuff, but it's important, you know, in career, in trying to convince people of something, in trying to sell, you know, in politics, the energy you put out is super important. And people are just fundamentally turned off by desperation, okay? Anything that smells of desperation, anything that feels like desperation, people are just intuitively turned off by that, okay? And so if it seems to the people that you're dealing with that you've got an agenda, you know, you've got an agenda and you've got an outcome, and for whatever reason, you need that outcome to happen. Otherwise, you're going to be upset, you're going to be miserable, you're going to be unfulfilled, you might be angry, okay? If people can sense that you've got that block, if people can sense that you have that desire that must be satisfied, that is just a turn off, okay? And we see this all the time in dating, don't we? Because I'm sure you've had the experience of getting together with somebody that maybe you weren't that attracted to, but she was a cool girl, whatever, it will do for now. But you weren't super into the whole thing, but you went along with it anyway. And she absolutely adored you. She doted on you. She would make dinner for you. She would blah, 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 blah. You know, she would just be all over you. Okay. And you've probably met other people that you've dated, other women that you've dated, who you were really into. Okay, you were really into them, and they pulled back from you. They hung back from you, okay? And it must be something to do with the energy that you're putting out. It must be to do with the vibe that you're giving, right? Because if these two women are, you know, they're both human beings, right? They both live in the same universe. They both probably maybe they're in a similar sort of social sphere. They understand you. They contextualize you in the same way. And yet one of them is all over you, and one of them is super, super keen to hang out with you, and she wants to do everything for you, and etc., etc. And then the other one is pulling away, but the other one you're showing more desire to. There's just something about the way that you're acting. There's just something about the way that you're moving that is communicating this enhanced, this heightened sort of need for her. That's putting her off. That's putting her off. And you may have experienced this yourself with the other girl, or the girl who is very attracted to you, who's all over you, who wants to spend all her time with you, etc., etc. And there can be something a bit off-putting about that. It's weird, isn't it? Because it seems like from the outside, well, you've got a girlfriend, bro. What's the problem? It would feel like from the outside that you should be happy with that. Okay. But we're human beings, and we are nuts, and our wiring is screwed up. And so there's something about that. There's something about that context that it's just a bit off-putting. If somebody shows you too much affection and attention up front, it seems to ring alarm bells somehow, and it seems to push us away. Okay. And so when you're out and about and you're in dating scenarios, or there's a girl that you like at work, or there's a girl that you like at the woman that you like at the coffee shop, or whatever it is, and you're thinking about how you're coming across, you're thinking about how you are acting in relation to her, you need to put the brakes on a bit. Okay. Because if you come on too strong, then she's probably going to shut you down. It's not guaranteed. I mean, obviously, every situation is different. Every person is different. So we can't say that for certain, but it's likely that she's going to shut you down. Okay. Because she can sense that you are too emotionally invested in the outcome. You are pinning too much on the hope of you guys getting together. And that's not a good thing as far as she's concerned, because a lot of people, for a start, have low self-esteem. And so there's going to be a small part of her that's going to think, why is it that this guy is so keen to hang out with me? Why is it this guy is so keen to spend time with me? Because I don't think I'm that great. He does. He must be a bit of an idiot. All right. You see how the psychology goes. Okay. And I'm not saying this is objectively true. She's probably fantastic, right? Whatever. But in her mind, you showing that need for her, that need for the outcome, becomes a referendum on her worthiness. And she doesn't think she scores very well on that. So if you're there like a chump and you are chasing her all the time and really, really seem concerned to make this thing happen, that can be a red flag, and that can be a turn off. Whereas, unfortunately, the guy who didn't show that much interest and wasn't all over her and maybe didn't reply to her messages immediately and all the rest of it, he becomes an aspirational figure. He becomes somebody that she wants to chase because she feels the scarcity. Okay, she feels the danger that if she doesn't make this thing happen, right? If she doesn't make the right moves in order to get this guy or to keep this guy, then he's going to disappear from her grasp. So we're all kind of stuck in this same paradigm, really, men and women. All of us tend to put more value, more importance on the things that we can't quite get, okay? Or maybe we get them for a brief period of time and then we lose them. Or maybe we never get them in the first place. And they seem to us to be incredibly valuable, even though we haven't yet experienced them. Whereas what we had in our hand seems to have less value because we've already got it. And if the thing has been granted to us so easily, can it really be that good? I think this is the underlying psychology. And I'm not saying this is logical. I'm not saying this is right. I mean, when I was at school, I would always idolize a particular girl who was in my class. I would always fall in love with Sarah or Jane or whoever it was, who was sort of the prettiest girl, in my opinion, in the class. I would kind of become enamored of her. And what would often happen was that, well, almost without exception, what would happen is that those women or those girls would not be interested in me in return. However, there were other girls in the class who did show interest in me. There were other girls who, made it pretty clear from their behavior and the things that they said that they would have been interested in having me as a boyfriend or, whatever. And what I would do at that time, and this is obviously going back a long way when I was in school, what I would do at that time was I would not allow anything to happen with these other girls who were showing me interest, because I would be holding out for the number one. I'd be holding out for the one in the number one position, because I think, oh, she is the prize, she's the golden one, and I don't want to do anything to rock the boat, because if I rock the boat, if I'm seen to be dating this other girl, she's going to get angry and she's not going to want to have anything to do with me. Now, that was naive as well, because, of course, what might have happened is that jealousy might have entered into the picture, and it might have made that first girl a little bit more keen to spend time with me. I don't know. I can't say that for sure. It was a long time ago, but you get what I'm saying, right? The jealousy angle may have kicked into my advantage if that had been what I sought to do. But I think the greater lesson that I learned from all of this was you've got to really go where the interest lies. I mean, I was getting interest from some pretty attractive girls who were in the class. It's just that they weren't her, they weren't the golden princess on the throne. So because they weren't her, I just passed up those opportunities and, didn't date any of them, which was a mistake. I mean, looking back now, it was a mistake. Not that I'm bothered about it now, but for the record, it was a mistake, because I could have had much more experience at a younger age. I probably wouldn't have fallen into the kind of despond that I fell into anyway as a result, because I would tell myself the story, well, I never got a girlfriend, I can't, I'm unlovable, all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't really true. It was just I was selecting for people that weren't interested in me. And as I say that out loud, it makes me wonder if my avoidant tendencies were already in train, even as a kid, even as a young guy. Possibly. I think it was also just fear, though, to be honest. Fear and just not knowing what the hell I was doing. All right. But as I say, I mean, now I look back on it and I think, well, okay, but if Jane, the class princess, she wasn't interested in me, then I shouldn't have spent all that time, focusing on her and thinking what might, what could be, and misinterpreting, if she smiled at me in a certain way, or she came and talked to me after the class, spending hours analyzing that and interpreting it and trying to figure out, oh, so what does she mean? This must mean that she really likes me. This must mean that at some point something is going to happen. I mean, what was going to happen, I don't know. And how it was going to happen, I've got no idea, because I certainly wasn't going to push it forward. And this was the other mistake I made as a very young guy, was that I didn't fully understand the fact that really, as the guy, you have to be the one who makes the moves, if that makes sense. You have to be the one who directs the thing in the right direction. It's not just going to happen. Now, Nicorette spray, lifesaver. Now, again, caveats to that. Of course, sometimes maybe things do just happen. Sometimes girls do make the move, etc. Blah, 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 whatever. But in general, You have to be the one who moves the thing forward. And that was something I was absolutely unequipped and frankly unwilling to do. What's this? Quick question. Do you know Game Eager? No. No. I don't know what that's about, I'm afraid. So yeah, you've got to go where the market is, right? You've got to go where you're liked. It makes sense. And you've got to stop pining after people who aren't that interested in you. Okay. It's just not a good look. And it's not a good strategy either. But what it really comes down to is resisting the urge or the imperative to get too emotionally invested in outcomes at all. Okay. And particularly in dating, there's a distinction between wanting somebody and needing somebody, right? There's a distinction. And guys get mixed up with this because we talk a lot about, okay, so you're out in a bar or a lounge bar or a hotel bar or whatever, okay, and we say you should signal intent, all right? So you approach somebody that you're attracted to. You want them to know that you're attracted to them, okay? Because otherwise, they don't know what you're there for. They don't know why you're talking to them. And it could present as, you know, kind of friendly, like you're just there to sort of you're just vibing. You've got to be clear. You've got to put yourself on the line in these situations. So you ask her out for a drink. You ask for her phone number. You ask her if she'd like to go to somewhere else afterwards. You know, you say to her, I know this cool cocktail place. How about on Tuesday we go for drinks? Okay. You've got to make it clear that you're angling to get a date with her. Okay. And a lot of this can be communicated through eye contact. It's not about being verbally crude. It's not about, you know, coming out with some crazy lines or anything like that. But she has to understand on some level that you are interested in her in a man to woman way. Okay. Because otherwise, you're playing a friend zone type game. And this is where guys will end up trapped in terrible cycles of sort of going out on 15 dates with a girl and they haven't kissed yet. And, you know, all of this kind of stuff. I mean, I've heard some ridiculous stories like this, and it should never get to that point because it should always be very clear up front. Look, I saw you. I think you're attractive. I want to get to know you in that context. Okay. Now, she may well not be interested. She might well say no, or I'm not interested, or I've got a boyfriend, or I'm kind of busy right now, or something like that. And that's absolutely fine. All right. That's absolutely fine. That's completely within her gift to say or to do. Okay. She doesn't owe you anything, you know? She doesn't owe you anything. You can't expect people to want to spend time with you. You can't expect people to be attracted to you, and you can't force them to be attracted to you, and nor should you want to, right? You want to meet people who are genuinely attracted to you, who genuinely see your worth, who genuinely want to spend time with you. Okay, that's what you're looking for, right? That's what you're filtering for. Another comment here. Anybody got any questions? Put them in the chat. What is the low-hanging fruit that man should do to improve dating life? Talk to more people. Talk to more people. I mean, I've just done a whole bunch of videos about this stuff, but, you know, the dating apps are pretty screwed, really. But everybody's on the dating apps, right? I mean, everybody knows that the dating apps are screwed, particularly for guys. A lot of guys just have a real problem with even getting matches, let alone getting dates or anything else. And there are more men than women on the apps. and ghosting is very high, and there's fake profiles, there's catfishing, there's all of this stuff. Everybody knows the apps are nonsense. Now, I say everybody. There is undeniably going to be some guys who come back and they say, "No, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. I do really well on the apps." Okay, great. That's fine for you. But overall, in general, and having worked as a coach in this area for a decade, I can tell you that most guys come to us and they'll say, "Yeah, I tried the apps and I'm just not getting anywhere on them." Okay, that seems to be a pretty typical experience, and we read reports now all the time about people escaping from the apps. The apps are shedding users; they're becoming less profitable, they're making less money. So this isn't just me saying it. This is societally, something is going on with the app. So my point is, if you are sitting there and kind of relying on the apps and hoping that something's going to happen, that's not a great strategy. What is a better strategy is, to carry on with the apps if you want, that's fine, whatever. But a better strategy is also to augment that with actually talking to people in real life, talking to 2 or 3 new people in real life every day. And if you do that consistently, you're going to get a dating life, right? You're going to have people that do respond well to you, who want to be a part of your journey, right? Who want to meet up with you, who want to come on a date with you, who want to get to know you more. You're also going to get a lot of people who don't. But that's okay, because it doesn't really matter. You've got to think about this as volume over time. All right, volume over time. If you were talking to 2 or 3 new people every day, in a month, that's what, 60 new people, 90 new people. Do you think if you were talking to 90 new people in a month, maybe one of them would want to come on a date with you? Probably, yeah. The rest of them, if it goes well with her, brilliant. It kind of, you won't even remember the rest of them. It makes up for it, okay? But you need to be going out there and actually interfacing with real people, all right, in order to turn the dial on this stuff. Because if you're not, then you're just like every other chump who's sitting there with his phone, hoping that something's going to pay off, hoping that something's going to work, and it probably won't. So Troy, you said you're an avoidant. Wouldn't that mean the anxious was pursuing you more? He means the personality type. So anxious attachment types. So if I was an avoidant attachment type, were anxious attachment types chasing me? Sometimes, yeah. My history was, when I was a teenager, nobody was chasing me, and I wasn't really chasing anybody. Well, that's not entirely true, but there was certainly nothing was happening, right? There was no action happening because I was clueless, and I was also very shy as well. So there's one thing, being avoidant is one thing, because that's a preference, or that's something that you kind of want in a way. I am avoidant because I like my own space, and I don't. Now, it might be a pathology, right? I don't want people getting too close, but it's still a preference within me. So it's something that I'm selecting, if you like, or the avoidant person is sort of selecting. If that makes sense. I've lost my train now, but anyway, yeah. But I've also flipped into anxious attachment as well myself. So the picture's not always quite as clear as we'd like to think. But yeah, I've been on both sides of relationships in my life, where I've been the one who's been sort of chasing the outcome, and I've also been in relationships where the other person has been the one sort of chasing me. And sometimes it flips. Sometimes it flips. You can be the avoidant one at the beginning, and then you lose the person because they're like, well, to hell with this. I don't want to hang out with this guy who doesn't really want me around. They disappear, and then you become the one trying to chase them. So you can be on both sides of the coin with this. It's not always a clear-cut picture. Have you changed moisturizer? No. Um, yeah. Okay. Any more questions or anything? Put them in the chat. We're not going to stay on for very long today. I'm going to come on tomorrow, and James Tusk should join me. The other thing to say is there's a couple of bits and pieces. So our course, Approach Accelerator, is open now. So if you want to get into this practice of being social and meeting people organically and not having to rely on the apps and actually meeting high quality women that you gel with, then you should join our Approach Accelerator program. It's 10 weeks long, recorded material, videos, plus webinars, Zoom calls, plus WhatsApp support, 24/7 WhatsApp support from us. Okay. So there'll be a link below. So go and have a look at that. You can apply there. The other thing is we have a boot camp event coming up in Rio, 13th to the 21st of February. Okay. So if you're interested in that, and you should be, because Rio is the most amazing place on the planet, particularly during Carnival, then get in touch. Drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, or send me a DM on one of the platforms. We can have a chat, put your WhatsApp details. With that, what we do is basically we're going to be there for 10 days. You don't have to come for the entire 10 days. We can figure something out. But I mean, basically, we're going to be there and we're going to be getting you into as many interactions as possible. Okay. And then we're going to be feeding back to you on exactly what you're doing, exactly where it's going wrong, and exactly what you're doing right. Okay. So we optimize in real time and we fine tune you. It's like Formula One. You know, when the car stops at the pit stop and they fine tune the car and then the car's ready to go again. So we're going to be doing that for you. It's going to be a huge amount of fun. It's really I say once in a lifetime experience, but I mean, a lot of people just keep going back because it's so good. But it's really, if you haven't been before, it's really something to behold. And if you have been before, but you're struggling with this stuff and you want help, then, you know, this is the time to do it. So as I say, drop me an email. What else have we got here? When you say avoiding, you don't mean avoiding women completely. No, not really. I just mean that. I just mean in terms of relationships. If people are, there's a whole book, isn't there? I forget the title. Somebody can help me out with the title here. But there's a whole book about attachment styles, and I'm talking about my attachment style probably being a bit more avoidant. I mean, it's become more avoidant as I've got older. Okay, it doesn't mean I don't want to spend time with women. It doesn't mean I don't want to have relationships with them. It just means that the boundaries of those relationships are higher than they have been in the past. Do you recommend men travel overseas to find feminine women? What's been your experience with women overseas? Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, you could certainly. It's really good to go to different cultures. I mean, and experience that. I mean, for me, I think Eastern Europe, and formerly Ukraine and Russia, although they're kind of off limits at the moment to a large extent. But you know, Eastern Europe and the former USSR were fantastic, and Latin America is fantastic. It has its own flavor. And then a lot of people go to Southeast Asia as well. Whether they are more feminine women is open to debate, really, because you know, look, I mean, I'm in the UK. There are very feminine women in the UK. It's not like everybody is this girl boss. And equally, if you go to a lot of these countries, you know, women, you know, the sort of narrative is kind of broadly the same everywhere because of social media. So the differences are becoming less stark. But if you're a bit fed up with Anglosphere culture or Western European culture or wherever you are, and you want to try something different, it's definitely worth doing for sure. I mean, some of the greatest experiences ever that I've had have been through traveling. You know. What's a good social media platform for someone that doesn't interact with anybody? I don't know. Don't be on social media. The only reason really that I use social media is because I'm doing it as I'm doing it as a job. I mean, I don't really use social media outside of the accounts that I have for this. And the social media accounts I do have, I'm just spamming with videos and things because it's part of the job. I do have a private Instagram account, but I'm hardly active on it, you know? So I'll use it for scrolling. I'll look at things, look at other people's posts, but I'm not necessarily on there interacting the whole time. And the only reason, if I wasn't doing this as for work, I probably wouldn't have social media. I certainly probably wouldn't have X. I might have a small private Instagram account. I don't use Facebook anymore. You know, I've got a TikTok, but I never go on that either. So I would say just don't use it. It's actually cooler to not use it, I think. I mean, I've seen a couple of articles recently. I don't know how true this is, but I've seen a couple of articles saying that Gen Z are moving off of social media, or it's now cooler to post fewer pictures. And certainly when you look at people on Instagram, there's a lot of people who've just got one picture on the wall, or 3 pictures or something on the wall, and that's it. They'll post stories, but they won't post anything on the wall. I think I'm not saying the tide is turning, but I think it's sort of, I would just stay off it, to be honest. Is Tusk not interested in having a relationship? Is he happy just cruising around and working? Yeah, probably. I mean, I can't speak for him. Obviously, as I say, he should be on here tomorrow. We should be on tomorrow, both of us. So you can ask him yourself. But as far as I know, yeah. I mean, I think that as a guy, you've got a pretty long runway, you know, where you can just be single and just do work and date people as and when, and not necessarily get into anything too serious, and just have a good life, you know? And it's surprising in a way that more people don't do that. I think they don't do it because of societal pressures. And obviously, if you are looking to settle down and have a family, then that is a key thing as well. And you've got to be mindful of timings and stuff. But the truth of the matter is, if you released yourself from those ideas and those beliefs, most people could actually be doing not what James does exactly, but you could be having a pretty cool life where you're not necessarily tied down to somebody, you're not in a long-term relationship, but you are happy, you know? And one of the important pillars of that is the male friends that you've got, or even male and female friends, but, you know, the friendship group that you've got that isn't potential partners, right? I mean, I've got a good network. So I'm lucky because I've got a good network of people, men, few women as well, who I'm friendly with. And so in terms of sort of feeling lonely or needing, I don't know, human contact or whatever, I don't necessarily need that from a partner because I'm already getting a lot of that stuff from my network, right? And I think James is somewhat similar, really. I mean, he's got a lot of friends in countries over the world, a lot of people he's in contact with. And so we don't need to be, people would always say, well, you've got to find a partner because you don't want to be lonely. But it's like, if you're not lonely anyway, then do you need a partner? Because relationships are problematic, right? I mean, a relationship is not the ticket to eternal happiness and nirvana. Okay? I mean, people seem to sometimes think that, but the reality is relationships bring with them a lot of difficulties, as well as a lot of joy and a lot of companionship and affection and, you know, romance and sex and all that stuff, for sure. There's great sides to it, but there's also tricky sides to it as well. It's not just like, oh, get in a relationship and now I'm walking through a field of daisies and I'm just happy all the time. You know, if anything, you're going to suffer more conflict and more challenges when you're in a relationship than you are on your own. Because when you're on your own, you've only got yourself to, you can't really argue with yourself. You know, I woke up this morning, I went to the gym, I've done some work, I'm doing this, I've got to go out in a bit to do some more work. I'm not having a big argument with myself. I'm not saying to myself, why haven't you cleaned the coffee cups? Why is this coffee cup left out? Why haven't you cleaned up? Why haven't you cleaned up the side? You know, what are you doing? I'm not arguing with myself. I'm not nagging myself, right? If I was with somebody, that might be happening, or variations of that might be happening. Okay, so I'm not making an argument to say So just avoid relationships. I'm not going to say that. That's not my place to say, and it's not what I believe. But I'm just saying that, because in this question you're saying, is he happy cruising around and working? Well, as far as I know, he's pretty happy. But it wouldn't be the case that if he was in a relationship, he would necessarily be more happy. I think you've just got a different set of challenges. That's all. Okay. Now, look, I mean, that sounds like I'm underplaying the value of human connection and intimacy and stuff. And I'm not. I understand that those things are hugely significant. And yes, perhaps it could be said that there is a greater joy to be had from being in a relationship with somebody, warts and all, than just sitting on your own with your D and your H. Maybe, that could be stated and that would probably be correct. But I'm just saying it doesn't come without a cost. All right. It's not that a relationship is the answer to everything and that's just going to make everything okay. It just doesn't work like that, What else do we need to say? You're too emotionally invested in outcome. Yeah. So, I was going around the houses before, but articulating this thing about you're in the bar and there's this attractive woman and, you've got to show some sort of desire for her. You've got to indicate on some level that, you're not just there to be a friend. You find her attractive. You would like to get to know her in that context. Now, as I said, she can say no. That's absolutely fine. But you want her to know that that's where you're coming from, at least. Okay. And that means putting yourself on the line. Okay. That means taking a risk a bit because she may well reject you. And then you've got to deal with the feels that come as a result of that. Okay. But this is what we encourage you to do the whole time, because dealing with rejection and becoming not immune to rejection, but sort of unconcerned about rejection is a super important thing. But guys will say, well, which is it? Do I want to show desire and show that then I clearly want the outcome, but you're also saying don't be concerned about the outcome. So how does it shake out? How does it work? My response to that is, look, it's not that big a deal. It's not that deep, as people say now. Yes, you think she's cute. Yes, you think she's pretty. She's attractive. She seems cool. She seems an interesting person. You would like to get to know her in a sort of dating capacity. But it's not the end of the world. If she says no, she says no. Big deal, right? There are billions of other people out there. And it's not like you're devaluing her by going, oh, well, it doesn't matter. There's billions of others. Yeah, she's a special and unique snowflake, for sure. Okay? But it's not going to disastrously impact your life. If she just says, listen, I'm sorry, I'm just not interested, or I've got a boyfriend, I'm just not, or it's not going to crush you. It's not going to destroy you. So I think there's a balance to be had there between, yes, you would like a certain outcome, but you're not wedded to it. You're not tied to it. There's not this heavy psychological kind of burden attached to it, because people don't respond very well to that. She's not going to respond well to that, because she's going to be like, well, this is just, and again, these are mistakes I made in the past. This guy is just too heavy. It's too much. He's putting me on a pedestal. I don't feel worthy of it. What's wrong with this guy that he thinks I'm so great? Hey man, Don DeMarco. Good to see you here, bro. Thank you very much for supporting the stuff, supporting the channel, commenting on the videos and stuff. Yeah, so you're indicating that you would like a certain outcome, but you're not tied to it. You're not desperate for it. Okay, and I think that's the thing. Don't be desperate. If you take one thing from this video, don't be desperate. But yeah, ideally, you want to be going through life with a much more casual attitude to it. It's like, okay, yeah, I'd like to get to know you, but if you don't want to, that's cool. That's fine. Have a great life. Very light, very airy, very playful. Okay, not grasping, not covetous, not trying to make something happen. And that sort of attitude will just benefit you, right? Because people will respond better to that ease. People will respond better to that sort of not wanting that much from them. Okay. Um, but it's as simple as that, really. I'm not sure there's a great deal more to be said. Ease, comfort, making other people feel comfortable, not putting people under pressure, etc., etc. These are the keys to the kingdom, really. Playfulness, lightness, flirtation. You know, that's where you want to be. That's the register that you want to achieve with this stuff. If you've got any more questions or anything, put them in the chat. I'm going to finish in a moment. I just wanted to repeat the fact that our course, Approach Accelerator, is open now. So it's a 10-week course. We're going to be starting in February, taking you through all aspects of dating from beginning to end. If you're interested in that, there's a link below, or drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com. Put your WhatsApp details and we'll arrange a call. And if you're feeling adventurous and you'd like something a little bit spicy, then come and join us in Rio, 13th to the 21st of February, Rio Carnival. Myself, James Tusk, might be some other people popping in as well. And we're going to be taking you out for a minimum of 4 to 5 hours per day. But in reality, it'll be a lot longer. Afternoon and then evening times, going to all the hotspots in Rio, meeting some of the most beautiful women in the world, having a blast, and most importantly, guiding you through how to do this stuff, how to be social, but also breaking down exactly what you're doing, course correcting, and helping you get on the right track, and offering you support before and afterwards on WhatsApp. And yeah, just every aspect of dating will be covered to your satisfaction. So Rio Carnival, 13th to the 21st of Feb. Again, drop me an email, troy@realtroyfrancis.com, if you'd like to apply for a space there. Okay, I think that's about it. So we'll leave it for now. I will be back tomorrow. James should be on, so have your questions ready, and we'll see you again very soon.